Afternoon, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, I give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh. I also want to acknowledge the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. I also want to acknowledge Yahweh Shai. I pray that the Most High blesses this lesson today and gives more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, the events that are coming on the earth, and the things soon to come on the planet. Going to get into a few things today. We're going to get into probably one of the main things is that the pyramids are the key to establishing the fact that the Israelites were here in the Americas. I'm going to present quite a bit of information, biblical as well as historical information, that pretty much nails it down for most people that the Israelites were already here, and that many of the events that happen in the scriptures happen here as well. And we're going to use many other books as far as historical books, probably the book of Enoch, as well as the Bible, 2nd Esdras. We're going to use my older Bible that actually has the precepts in the Apocrypha. You know, many of the things that they were hidden so that we couldn't get the proper understanding. And what happens quite a bit is when people don't have these precepts, they are then free to, just like Christians, read a verse and then add their own opinion and then present it like it's a fact. And that's been something that's been happening quite a bit. You know, people are asking questions and wanting people to answer questions and things like that. But then they want to limit you to only using the Bible to answer questions. Now, if you're going to ask questions or you want things, you want to find information, you know, you can't limit someone to only using a certain book without actually proving that that's the only book you can use. I've asked many times for anyone to prove using scripture, anything, that the Most High ordained 80 books only. And, you know, no one has really tried to make a video, tried to explain how the Most High only ordained 80 books. You know, and we already know that that cannot be proven. So if you can't prove that you have that there was only 80 books, that the Most High only approved 80 books, then you're just going with what Esau decided to give you. And I've been hearing things as far as like myself is going off. He's going off. He's doing his own thing. This and that. He's going off. Well, if not following the oppressor who has lied to us about absolutely everything is considered going off, then so be it. I'm going off. I will not allow the people who have lied to us about absolutely everything to dictate how I'm going to have conversations with my brethren. There's too much evidence worldwide that, you know, we just can't ignore. Well, some people can. Some people are really good at ignoring information. Edomites are excellent at ignoring facts and information. And there's plenty of people that are, you know, supposedly Hebrew that are really good at doing exactly the same thing, ignoring tons of new information and wanting to only stick with the old information. But if that's your lot, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not here to make people agree with myself. I'm here to be used as a vessel to pretty much, you know, expose people to different things. What they do with it at that point is up to the Most High. Okay? But I have stated that the Bible is a incomplete, it's a compilation of incomplete information. And it is predominantly dealing with the Southern Kingdom. I mean, no one has tried to say that that's not true, but the Bible is predominantly dealing with the Southern Kingdom. So to ask anyone to prove what transpired with the Northern Kingdom while limiting a person to only use the Southern Kingdom's books is very misleading. You can't use the Southern Kingdom's records to then explain what's happening with the Northern Kingdom when they're on the other side of the world. That's like saying, hey, you know what? I have this really difficult math problem. I know you're probably going to need a book to be able to kind of work it out and solve it, but you can only use a reading book. You can't use a math book to solve a math problem. You can only use a reading book to solve this problem. How much success do you think you're going to have if you're limiting someone to using a one book that's totally irrelevant to the subject matter? It would be impossible to answer. So if you're going to ask someone to prove certain things about the Northern Kingdom, it would then make sense that you would have to use the Northern Kingdom's records. But since Esau has made it pretty much his whole point was to destroy all the Northern Kingdom's records when he got here, then now you left everything open to interpretation. I notice that quite a bit with our brethren, is that they're quick to attack their own supposed brethren, but then Esau gets a pass. It's not just Esau that is confederate against us. In Psalms 83, all nations are confederate against us. Even Hamites are confederate against us. So why all of a sudden people are so quick to want to, hold hands with Ham and act like all of a sudden now Ham cares about us? I said, to me, it's perplexing. Doesn't make any sense. Ham's known who we are the entire time. For the last 400 years, they haven't cared about anything about us and our plight and what we've been going through. But now all of a sudden, because the 400 years are up, now all of a sudden Ham's important. I said that just doesn't make any sense. But what we're going to get into right now is showing how the pyramids are the key to proving that the Hebrews were here and that this over here is our land. This is part of our inheritance. We have other lands and other parts of the world as well. In Jubilees, I want to say chapter 8, the breakdown was pretty much the Shemites got half the world. Ham got a quarter. Japheth got a quarter. The Americas only makes up about 25% of the land mass of the world. So then there has been another 25% scattered all over the place. That's part of our blessing as well. So I'm not saying that just the Americas here is all that we have. We probably have other lands all over the place. A lot of that information is hidden. So we're not going to be able to figure out everything. That's part of the whole plan. That's part of the way the Most High wants. He's the one that says we have to study to show ourselves approved. We have to study. And plus, he's left markers all over the world. He's left clues for us all over the world. Now, if people, you got to understand, some people are set up just to cause confusion. I hear that all the time about myself, that I'm just set up to cause confusion. Well, if I'm set up to make you think and make you study and make you go and look for things, I guess if that's called confusion, then so be it. If I don't tell you that you can find every single thing in one book and you don't have to look anywhere else, if that's causing confusion, then so be it. You think the Most High is really that simple? I'm going to show you how he's left clues all over the place to show you that these lands here are special and that these lands right here, I said, were the lands where he sent the 10 tribes. Okay, we're going to get into that right now. All right, let's see, I'm going to take a look at my notes here because I have quite a bit of notes here. Okay, now, let's see, we're going to go into first. Here we go. This is 2nd Esdras. This is the book, the Bible I have from the early 1800s. This is the Apocrypha, and it has precepts on the side. Very few Bibles have the precepts. So what these precepts do is help to give us understanding, okay, of what was actually going on and what some of the things in those scriptures were referencing. It gives us context. So we just can't make up our own opinions and then present them as fact. Esau's great at doing that. Esau's great at coming up with a hypothesis and then teaching it forever as if it's a fact. Okay? And a lot of Hebrews are doing the same thing. They follow the same playbook. You know, I've had a certain viewpoints. And the Most High has shown me different things. The more I read, the more I study, and with a lot of the clues that He's left worldwide, that has changed my views on a few things. I used to believe that the lands over there were ours until I started doing more research and getting more understanding. You know, and that's what we're going to be getting into right now. So I'm going to give you, of course, the scripture, but I'm also going to give you the precepts. Other people are going to give you the Bible verses, and they're not going to give you any precepts. They're just going to give you their opinions. So at that point, then you need to make up your own choice as to who it is you're going to believe, who you think is telling the truth, and go from there. And the Most High will lead you to the right direction. He'll lead you to where He wants you to be. All right? So let's take a look at 2nd Esdras, chapter 13. We're going to start out with verses 39 and 40. It goes, "And whereas thou sawest he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him. Those are the 10 tribes, which are carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king. Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. And so came they into another land." All right. So Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. Now, it's not talking about the Assyrians. That's why you got to look at these commas, and you got to look at what they're saying. He goes, Assyria led them away captive. Okay, so Assyria led the Hebrews away captive. It goes, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. The Most High is the one that's going to carry the 10 tribes over the waters into another land. Take a look here at the precept. Is Joshua 24, 2 and 3. Joshua 24, 2 and 3, in order to give some understanding. Let's take a look at that real quick. "And Joshua said unto all the people, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood in old time, even Terah, the father of Abraham, and the father of Nahor, and they served other gods." Okay? "And I said, I took your father Abraham from the other side of the flood and led him throughout all the land of Canaan and multiplied his seed and gave him Isaac." All right? Now, let's say right now that they are in the Middle East, that they are in a place where a lot of the places happen, these things happen in the scriptures. Because remember now, this is talking about after the time of Moses, after they went through the 40 years, okay, wandering around in the wilderness. All right, we got to understand. Like I said, there's other things that are going on right here, but what they're making that point here is that when you look at that word, they dwelt on the other side of the flood. Let me go to show you what the other meanings of the word flood means. Okay, let me go here. Joshua. Let me go there. 24. Flood can mean stream or a sea. Okay. Now it can't. So it can mean different things. It can mean a stream, or it can mean a sea or an ocean. All right. So if they were over here, because the Most High moved them different places, and we're gonna do a little bit of conjecture and see what fits right now. Okay. So let's say that the Hebrews, after the time of Moses, were led over here across the waters. Okay. To the other lands of Ham, the Amorites. If you look down there at 8, we're going to keep reading all the way down. Let me see here. Let me just read all the way to 8. Okay. So it says, we're going to go back to 4. "And I gave unto Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. And I gave unto Esau." Actually, you know what? No. Let me go to 3. "And I took your father Abraham from the other side of the flood," or the sea, okay, "and led him throughout all the land of Canaan, and multiplied his seed, and gave him Isaac. And all this stuff is happening on the other side of the sea. Okay? Now, the pyramids are going to give you the key to understanding this, okay? And I gave unto Isaac, Jacob, and Esau, and I gave unto Esau Mount Seir to possess it. But Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. And I sent Moses, also and Aaron, and I plagued Egypt according to that which I did among them. And afterward I brought you out, and I brought your fathers out of Egypt, and ye came unto the sea. And the Egyptians pursued after your fathers with chariots and horsemen unto the Red Sea. And when they cried unto the Lord, he put darkness between you and the Egyptians, and brought the sea upon them, and covered them. And your eyes have seen what I have done in Egypt, and ye dwelt in the wilderness a long season. And I brought you into the land of the Amorites, which dwelt on the other side of Jordan. And they fought with you, and I gave them into your hand, and that ye might possess their land, and I destroyed them before you. Now, our land, we're over here in the Americas, Turtle Island. This is our land. He would have had to taken us over the seas in order to get to Ham's land, the Amorite land. Okay, so you would have had to have been moved somewhere else in order to get into their land, because they don't have a blessing or anything over this way. Now, right now, we're going to do a little conjecture, and then we're going to see what clues on the world stage fit. So you're going to see how a lot of the stuff that I'm going to show you fits what I'm showing you today. Okay? So we got it talking about Abraham earlier here in 2 and 3. Canaan being Canaanites in the land. All right? Now, we know that after the flood of Noah, most of the Hamites went to their lands, but Canaan stayed and occupied our lands, and he was cursed for that. Okay, we know that Japheth went to their lands, and most of the Hamites went to their lands. So the Most High gave everyone their possessions, and they went to their lands. We stayed in our area, but we were mixed with the Canaanites because they stayed in our lands. Now, what I'm seeing is a lot of people are trying to give Canaan all this credit. They're trying to give Hamite all the credit for all of these pyramids that were built over here. I'm going to show you, and it's funny because I hear people saying, you're trying to give our blessing to Mexicans and Latinos because they're not our people. You're trying to give them our blessing. Well, it kind of sounds like you're trying to give our blessing to Hamites. Exactly the same thing. If you think that the Hamites were somehow capable of building all these great structures and pyramids, where does it say that in the Bible? Where does it say that they had the mental capacity to build all these great things? They would not be. They were not capable of building those kinds of structures without the aid of Hebrews. So there's no way that there was only Hamites over here in the Americas building these things without the aid of Hebrews. So when people say that, yeah, there were people here, but they weren't Hebrews, that's an opinion. But I'm going to show you some facts. A couple questions here. Who does the Most High give the scriptures to? The Hebrews. Who did he give knowledge and understanding to? The Hebrews. And the Bible, when Solomon was alive, did not people come from all over the world to learn from him? Did people not come from all over the place to learn from Abraham? Did people not come all over the place to learn from our people? So to say that a Hamite could build these technologically advanced structures would pretty much say then that the Most High is a lie. That the Most High was dealing not only with the Hebrews, but he's also dealing with the Hamites. That's not scriptural. The Most High only gave his knowledge and understanding to his people. His people have shared some of that information with people, but the Most High is in direct contact with his people only. I'm going to read something here. This is actually from the book of Josephus. I'm going to prove right now that the Hamites were not responsible for building all of these pyramids. And it's funny how they're always trying to give Ham the credit for the things that our people were responsible for. It's always it's like just like coming into the truth. Israelites can be anybody, but they damn sure can't be you. They can be anybody, but they can't be you. Same thing with these pyramids. Anyone could have built these pyramids. It just couldn't be our people. We couldn't have been a part of that at all. So let's take a look here. Look at 2 right here. I want to say this is chapter 8. Chapter 8, probably in the verse 2 area right here. For whereas the Egyptians were formerly addicted to different customs and despised one another's sacred and accustomed rites, and were very angry with one another. With another on that account. Abram conferred with each of them, and confuting the reasonings they made use of, every one of their own practices, demonstrated that such reasonings were vain and void of truth. Whereupon he was admired by them in those conferences as a very wise man, and one of great sagacity, when he discoursed on any subject he undertook. And this not only in understanding it, but in persuading other men also to assent to him. He communicated to them arithmetic, and delivered to them the science of astronomy. For before Abram came into Egypt, they were unacquainted with those parts of learning. For that science came from the Chaldeans into Egypt, and from thence to the Greeks also. So the Greeks came and learned from the Egyptians, or the Hamites. But the Hamites learned all this from the Hebrews. So there's no way that you could have Hamites over here building all these great structures without being influenced by the Hebrews. And for anyone to say that the Hamites were over here and they were building all these great structures with, great, technological advancements, with great astrological advancements, with great mathematical equations without the aid of Hebrews, is lying to you. It was impossible, and it's not even scriptural. But some people want to give Ham all the credit. Esau does. Esau tries to give Ham all the credit all the time, because he says that all black people come from Africa. All black people are the same people. All black people are Hamites. That's what he's been doing this entire time. And now we got people that are sitting here fighting to do exactly the same thing. Now check this part out. Okay, this is another part I want to say of Josephus right here. But check this part out right here. If it is true that Joseph and Imhotep were the same person, then the first pyramid, or the step pyramid in Saqqara, the areas they say, it doesn't matter what they say right there at this point, was designed by an Israelite at the beginning of Israel's sojourn in Egypt. When Abram started sojourning into Egypt, when he was there, the Israelites were sojourning in there for 430 years. That's when they started building these pyramids. Okay? Because before that, they didn't have this information, so therefore it was impossible for them to be doing it by themselves. Okay? So, what's more, if the last of the great pyramids, those of the 12th dynasty, were constructed with a core made from mud bricks, which were made by Israelite slave labor, then the Israelites were in Egypt while all the great pyramids were being constructed. When the Israelites departed from Egypt in the 13th dynasty, led by Moses, there were not enough slaves in Egypt to construct pyramids anymore. If this is correct, the pyramid age coincides with Israel's sojourn in Egypt, and all of the great pyramids would have been constructed over a period of around 430 years. Now, we weren't enslaved for 430 years. We were sojourning in and out of the land for a while. Okay. And then later on, they were enslaved. Okay. After Joseph and his time there, after he passed away. Okay. But pretty much most of the pyramids would have been constructed under, the influence of the Israelites. See how that works? So anyone saying that these Hamites were building all this stuff, you're giving way too much credit to Hamites. This is how, when people say there's for sure not one Israelite here, how would you know? Only way you can do that, that's just your opinion. But this is showing you that Israelites and the Hamites were together when all of these pyramids were being built. Now really think about it though. If we had all the knowledge, are you trying to say that we never built any pyramids? We knew how to do it, but we just never built any? Or was that just information that was also conveniently swept under the rug? There's a lot of information that is swept under the rug. Okay? This is what happens when we allow Gentiles to dictate what books we read, what information is valid, what information is good. They're going to lie to us every single time. Okay? So at the height of building the pyramids, the Hebrews were either giving their expertise, or they were enslaved and giving labor at that time. So that's part of this whole thing. Trying to figure out our way back to our power, trying to figure our way back to our land. Most High leaving these clues. These clues, or these pyramids, are the biggest clues all over the world. All you're going to hear from Gentiles is, well, we don't know who built all these pyramids over here in the Americas. We don't know anything about these. We don't even know when they were even made. We don't know, we don't know who made them. But we accept that, no problem. Well, Esau said he doesn't know, so therefore, we're just going to guess it was all Hamites. But then in the Bible, it shows you there's no way the Hamites could have did this by themselves. Because it was already tells you in the scriptures that if there's pyramids and there's great pyramids and great cities being built and walls and aqueducts and like that, Hebrews were somehow involved. So therefore, they had to have been there. All right. Now, this is huge information of understanding where this is going. The Smithsonian Magazine lists that there are more than 100 pyramids in Egypt, while there are more than 1,000 pyramids in Central America, according to worldpyramids.com. The pyramids of Central America are more appropriately the cultural area of Mesoamerica, were built by several different ancient civilizations, but they're not going to tell you exactly who. Now let's go through this here. The height of building pyramids, okay, was the 430 years of the Hebrew Israelites sojourning in Egypt and in our own lands, okay, in the land of Canaan. So that would have been pretty much then that the vast majority of the pyramids in the world should be showing us where this took place. So people want to keep saying that it's over there in Egypt. So what you're telling me is they only built 100 pyramids in the height of them building pyramids. Their most abundant time when they had slave labor and they had the expertise of the people who actually could build the stuff, they only built 100. Then somehow they built another 1,000 some other time with no slaves and anything else, because after Moses left, pretty much the Egyptian society crumbled. So they weren't building any more pyramids for the most part. So it could have been the place where there's only 100 pyramids. It would make much more sense if you had 430 years of sojourning, you had slaves, you had the chosen people actually working for you and building all these great cities and everything else. It would make more sense that it would be where the 1,000 pyramids are, at least 1,000. That's what they say. I know there's probably way more, right? And then maybe later on, they wanted to maybe build some more. So they built maybe 100 more later on. That fits much more than over there 100. Then all of a sudden 1,000 over here, and we have no idea how they did it. You see that? So at the height of building pyramids, it would make more sense that they would have made 1,000. Wherever the 1,000 were made would be where the Hebrews were and where the Canaanites were. I mean, if you could show me some other information about after the Israelites, all of a sudden they just start making thousands of pyramids somewhere else, I would love to see that information. And it's funny because, they'll talk about over in Egypt, they know for sure how old the Great Pyramid of Giza is. They know it's 4,500 BC, no problem. Then they come over here and say, oh, well, we can't tell you exactly how old these pyramids are. We don't know. Like I said, whoever they set up is a person who, they got a PhD and pretty much whatever they say goes. That's how it's been this entire time. And how good is that? And how much can we trust that? Once we establish this, then we kind of go back into what we're reading there in a second. It'll start to make a lot more sense. Like I said, we got these pyramids right here. And these pyramids are lined up with the stars, with the heavens. Who was the person that was given the knowledge of the heavens? Can you show me anywhere where Hamites were given this information? So I'm going to show you even more how the pyramids are the key to showing you. The Most High left these markers. He left these clues. And the kings and the queens will be the ones that will find these clues at the end. Who was the person that was given the knowledge of everything in heaven? Enoch. Enoch was given that information. Let's read a little bit here. Book of Enoch, chapter 51. After that period, in the place where I had seen every secret sight, I was snatched up in a whirlwind and carried off westward. There my eyes beheld the secrets of heaven and all that existed on earth. See that right there? Okay, snatched up in a whirlwind. Okay, and my eyes beheld the secrets of heaven. So Enoch was given the secrets of heaven, not Hamites. Because now we're going to talk to who was he passing this information down to. Let's go to 81. This is Book of Enoch, chapter 81. Wisdom have I given you to your children and your posterity, that they may reveal to their children for generations forever this wisdom in their thoughts, and that those who comprehend may not slumber, but hear with their ears, that they may learn this wisdom and be deemed worthy of eating wholesome food. Okay? Main thing is that part of the 3. Wisdom have I given to you, to your children, and your posterity. All right? So the wisdom and the knowledge and understanding of everything in the heavens, all the things on the earth, was given to our people. Now, when we fell off, a lot of this information we know our enemies took, and they're hiding it. So the only way that we can get some of this knowledge and understanding back is by being led by the Holy Spirit. She's the one that has to come and lead us. And we're going to have people put in our ways, in our paths, in order to keep us from learning, to keep us content, to give us a little bit of information and then stop here. Don't go any further. Don't do anything else. Don't go off. Esau said we can only stay here on this little island right here. And if you go any further, you're going off. That's how it works. So many people are very content with someone else just telling them certain things, giving them their opinion, and that's it. And pretty much just looking away from all the other information that is coming out. Most High said that knowledge will be increasing at the end. Is your knowledge increasing? Are you getting more knowledge and understanding? Or are you the same as you've always been? Most High is making it plain. He's showing us these clues, and we have to put the story back together. That's part of the fun of this whole thing. That's part of this whole thing right now, is the discovery, the chasing after our Father. He wants us to chase him. He wants us to fight through all the pitfalls, all of the roadblocks. He doesn't gonna just give it all to you. He wants to see if you're going to keep on going when things get tough, when people, call you things outside of your name, when people are making up things about you, when people are, attacking you, attacking your family, because they can't attack the information, they attack you personally. Are you going to fight through all that? Or are you just going to try to make people happy? Are you going to be a man pleaser? Or are you going to continue? So this is showing you that the Most High only gave this information to Enoch. Enoch was to pass this down to his children and his posterity. Abraham had this kind of information. He had the knowledge of the heavens and the astronomy and mathematics, and among other things. Again, in Psalms, it tells you this. Psalms 147, 19 and 20. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. So when people are trying to tell you that Hamites built all this stuff, they're lying to you. Because he says, he hath not dealt so with any nation. So the only way that he could have got this information was from a Hebrew. Namely, from Abram. Or Abraham. It told you that right there. Before Abraham came sojourning to their lands, they had no understanding of mathematics or astronomy. And don't tell me that they got, he told them once, all of a sudden they just had it down pat, perfect. One time and they heard it and they got it perfectly. No, that's not how it works. So he hath not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. All right. So, let me see here. This says, I'm going to continue. You give them some more proof of how Israelites were instrumental. Okay. Let's see here. And with this book right here, Fingerprints of the Gods by Hancock, which is kind of a crazy thing here because when I was in high school, my grandmother had this book in her bathroom. So anytime I'd go to her house and go to the restroom, this book was always there. This is when I was, I'm going 17, 18, maybe 19 years old, when I was going into college and everything else. And I was always drawn to this book. Just shows how the Most High works. I was drawn to this book. I would read it all the time. Didn't understand any of it. Stuff was so over my head. The information was so over my head. But my grandmother had this book. And when I was looking at Graham Hancock and some of his books, and this one popped up, I was like, I can't believe that this was the book that I've been looking at many years ago and that I was always drawn to, but I could not understand all the stuff that was in it. So then I went ahead and ordered it. And I'm going to read a little bit of it, kind of show you how there's no way that Hamites built this without a lot of knowledge and expertise of the Hebrews. It's a really good book. I've just got it. I've been reading it. Got a lot of stuff to bring out, but like I said, I have a lot of books. I'm trying to bring up more information. I said, but you got to be able to read the clues that the Most High has left all over the place. There's Teotihuacan. This place is magical. It has a lot of information. It has a lot of clues the Most High has left for his people to find. Now check this out right here. This is huge information. It tells you that there's no way that Hamites built this. The only way they could have got this expertise was from the Hebrews. What Harleston's investigations had shown was, he's talking about his investigation here at Teotihuacan, okay, was that a complex mathematical relationship appeared to exist among the principal structures lined up along the street of the dead, and indeed beyond it. This relationship suggested something extraordinary, namely that Teotihuacan might originally have been designed as a precise scale model of the solar system. At any rate, if the center line of the temple of Quetzalcoatl were taken as denoting the position of the sun, markers laid out northwards from it along the axis of the street of the dead seem to indicate the correct orbital distances of the inner planets. The asteroid belt, Jupiter, Saturn, represented by the so-called Sun Pyramid, Uranus by the Moon Pyramid, and Neptune and Pluto by as yet excavated mounds some kilometers farther north. Now, hold on. Everything is set up based off of the solar system. You got the inner planets, you got the asteroid belt, and you got Uranus, you got Neptune, and you got Pluto. Now, how in the hell do Hamites have that kind of information? If you're saying that only Hamites were here, how in the hell could they build something like this without Hebrews, without having Enoch's information? There's no way. The only people this information was given to was our people. So therefore, that would mean that our people had to have been here, and our people would have had to have taught these people how to do it, because there's also 1,000 or more than 1,000 pyramids all over the place here. Way more than Egypt. And there's way more other things that are here, that are way older than over there. The oldest pyramids are here. Some of the biggest pyramids are here. Some of these ones here that are set up to the stars are here. So it would make more sense that this was where all this stuff was going down. Let's continue. If these correlations were more than coincidental, then at the very least, they indicated the presence at Teotihuacan of an advanced observational astronomy, one not surpassed by modern science until a relatively late date. Uranus remained unknown to our own astronomers until 1787, Neptune until 1846, and Pluto until 1930. Even the most conservative estimate of Teotihuacan's antiquity, by contrast, suggested that the principal ingredients of the site plan, including the citadel, the street of the dead, and the pyramids of the sun and the moon, must date back at least to the time of Christ. No known civilization of that epoch, either in the Old World or in the New, is supposed to have had any knowledge at all of the outer planets, let alone to have possessed accurate information concerning their orbital distances from each other and from the sun. I would pretty much say that this is pretty much drop the mic, walk off the stage kind of information right here. Because this is now proving to you that the only people who could have been given this information were ones that the Most High has downloaded this information to. Because even astronomers, even now, couldn't even know about Pluto until 1930. So if anyone's going to tell you that Hamites built all this stuff, they built thousands and over 1,000, pyramids over here without the aid of Hebrews, they're lying to you. Now, many people, what they're going to do is just turn away from the information. Oh, it's not in the Bible, so I don't care. Well, if that's your case, if that's what you want to do, so be it. But this is all lining up with biblical information. That the Most High downloaded this information to Enoch. Enoch downloaded it to his children and his posterity, and they were the ones that were teaching it to the other people. Hence why you have so many pyramids here that are set up with astronomical, observatories and things like that, because we were doing all this information. We were doing all this. Okay? Now let me see what I got here. I want to check here what I want to do. Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to read a little bit of the second Esdras 13 with some more of the precepts. Because now that we understand what's going on with this information, now we can kind of go back and read it and then kind of see what fits. Let's go back here real fast to the start. I've got a lot of pictures here right now. All right, here we go. Now, let's say that after Moses leads the people out of Egypt, he leads them over here, also over to the Middle East, and they're taking over some lands over there. Now let's read what is being said with the precepts and watch how it makes much more sense that everything was happening with Abram and the Hamites. Well, over here, the Canaanites over here in the Americas, and then we were taken or led over to the other side of the world. Okay, and which easily could happen because we walked over. If they walked a year and a half over this way, we could easily have been walking or traveling for another year back over that way on the other side of the waters. Okay, however this works out. Okay, now let's take a look here at 40. Those are the 10 tribes, which are carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Uzziah the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. So that's what happened in the future, okay? Let's continue. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. Okay? For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. Again, flood can be, he could held still the sea, so they could walk back over this way. Okay? Till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsareth. Now, if you take a look at Arsareth, look to the left. It could be Arsareth or Ararat. Genesis 8 and 4. And I actually had that. I'm just going to read it. You guys can pull it up. Genesis 8 and 4. When it says Arsareth, it's referring to Genesis chapter 8, verse 4. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. Okay? Like I said, there's a lot of things that we're waiting for the Most High to reveal, because everything has been hidden. Okay? Now, what makes sense is this. After the flood, the ark came to rest over here in the Americas. Then Noah divided up the lands. Japheth went to his lands. Ham went to his lands, over there towards Africa and towards Europe. United States of the Americas right here was where the Israelites were given. We stayed, and so did the Canaanites. Canaanites set up shop here, took over our lands, but they knew that was going to be, eventually it was going to end up being a curse for them. So we were fighting, eventually Abram was going into their lands. He ended up helping them, giving them information. And that was the beginning of the pyramid age for 430 years. They built over 1,000 pyramids during that time. Eventually the Most High they put us in slavery. Eventually he gives us Moses. Moses then leads us out of Egypt to the Red Sea. Red Sea could also be talked about being down by the Gulf, of Mexico. And then he led us over the waters, over into, which we say, the modern day Middle East. This is all conjecture, but to see how this works. With that, when we were over there in the Middle East, getting ready to take over some more lands, then you get that Joshua 24 part, where it says, and Joshua said unto all the people, thus saith the Lord God, Israel, your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood or the sea they just came over, say the Atlantic Ocean. He's talking about when we dwelt over in the Americas. In the old time, even Terah, the father of Abraham, dwelt over there, and the father of Nahor. And they served other gods. We served the Hamites' gods, right? And I took your father Abram from the other side of the flood, when Abram was on over here in the Americas on the other side of the flood, and led him throughout all the land of Canaan. He took him throughout the land of Canaan and multiplied his seed and gave him Isaac. And during that time when he was mingling with the Hamites, he gave them knowledge and understanding of astronomy and math, right? Let's continue now, okay? And I gave unto Isaac, Jacob, and Esau, and I gave unto Esau Mount Seir to possess it. But Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. Okay, I sent Moses and also and Aaron, and I plagued Egypt according to that which I did among them. And afterward I brought you out, and I brought your fathers out of Egypt, and ye came unto the sea. And the Egyptians pursued after your fathers with chariots and horsemen unto the Red Sea. And when they cried unto the Lord, he put darkness between you and the Egyptians. Okay? And brought the sea upon them and covered them. And your eyes have seen what I have done in Egypt. And ye dwelt in the wilderness a long season. So he led us over here, left us here for the long season, and eventually gave us lands over there. See that right there? That makes much more sense. That we were over here, then we went over there. Okay? Am I saying that's exactly how it happened? Hey, I'm not sure because a lot of the information is hidden, but the clues fit. Okay? They fit that. And now, go back here. When you go back towards the bottom, you got all 12 tribes over here, say in the Middle East. But eventually he takes the 10 tribes and brings them back over to the Americas again. Then you go down to, let's see, 46. Then dwelt they there until the latter time. And now when they shall begin to come. So this is talking about how he takes them, the 10 tribes, and he marches them right back over here to the Americas, and they set up shop again over here in the Americas until the latter times. And the latter time would be when he sends the Spanish over there, down and pretty much down into Central America, Mexico, and he pretty much has them go through the curses over there. And then eventually maybe he brings over some of the slaves of the northern tribes back over here to the Americas. So there's other explanations of a lot of the different things. But it all fits. Now we have some people that are saying that, there's no Hebrews here. There's no Hebrews here. It's only Hamites. But like I showed you before, the Hamites couldn't have built all the things by themselves. Now I'm going to go back here because there's actually, let me go over here real fast. Teotihuacan, right here. This. Here in the middle, this is from my Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids book right here. All right. This is in a manuscript written in Quiche, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correct, in 1554 by several Maya Indians. Its Spanish translator, Padre Dionisio Jose Joné, had this to say. It is supposed in the manuscript that the three great caciques, nations mentioned in particular, are descendants of the 10 tribes of the kingdom of Israel, whom Shalmaneser reduced to perpetual captivity, and who, finding themselves in the confines of Assyria, decided to emigrate. The actual text ran, these then were the three nations of the Kashis. I was like, Quiches, maybe? I don't know. And they came from where the sun rises, descendants of Israel. Okay, so they came from the east. These were the descendants of Israel, of the same language and the same customs. So it's talking about how these people came from the east. And see, the Most High led them back over here to the Americas again. And that these were part of the descendants of the 10 tribes. In attestation, okay, of what they had written, the Indians signed the documents on September 28th, 1554, saying, we have written that which by tradition our ancestors told us, who came from the other part of the sea. Okay? From Givan, Tulan, bordering on Babylonia. Now, let me see, who would have more understanding? Who would have the truth more? Someone living in 1554, much closer to this time period, or someone living in 2020 who has no idea what this place was like before? So many people seem to think that they have all the answers. Now, how much do we really know? These people already had dealings with these people. They knew who they were. So usually when you go back further, those people are going to be able to tell you much more about what's going on and with the truth than people, hundreds of years removed, who are barely coming out of, being lied to about absolutely everything and then seeming to think that they know everything. This place, like I said, is a huge clue. It was set up. Like the Most High had them set it up as a pretty much the exact way of the solar system. Hamites could not have done this. No other nation could have done this except for our people who were given this knowledge and understanding. The Hamites did not have this information. So therefore, that's a huge clue as to the fact that we had to have been there. We were all over the place. Here's that Genesis 8:4. But the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. One more part here, okay? Discussing how important it is, okay, for the Israelites. Right there at the bottom it says, the Israelites therefore had a profound influence on Egypt, having designed the first pyramid in the 3rd dynasty, and having provided slave labor for various public works, which included making mud bricks for the construction of the last of the great pyramids. Those are the 12th dynasty. The country was destabilized when Moses, okay, went into exile, and there was nobody to continue the 12th dynasty. Egypt suffered massive losses as a result of the Exodus, and as a result became vulnerable to invasion. The Hyksos took over and ruled Lower Egypt for the next 400 years. So there wasn't a whole bunch of people making another 1,000 plus pyramids. So with when most of the pyramids would make more sense as to being the place as to where this great time of pyramids of making and the 430 years was taking place. Okay. So as we get closer to the end and we start to see things destabilize worldwide, the Most High is bringing his people back into knowledge and understanding. He is our stabilizing force. He sends the Holy Spirit to teach us the truth, because we can't expect to be getting the truth from the other nations. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh. All right, and give acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who was wisdom, who was the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.